What's good? We back with the Boston Clinic and more. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy CJ Goodfellow. We speaking on some NFL, some prequel, NFC playoff talk. We get to the AFC tomorrow, God willing. But we here, and it's only a few teams I believe have a real shot. Of course, a wild card can get hot. These are four teams I give a real shot to. Atlanta is just too erratic this year. Matt Ryan sucks monkey balls, but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. A lot of people like the Rams. I asked a question today. A lot of people like the Rams in Minnesota. My problem with that is I'm not sold on their quarterback play, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people, might not understand. When you get to the playoffs, it's a whole different mindset. In the regular season, it's all I got next week to make it better. You know what I'm saying? You put that right amount of pressure on a quarterback that ain't never been nothing or never been there. As far as the Rams quarterback, Jared Goff, who ain't never been nothing in Case Keenum. I just don't trust the quarterback play. Both of the defenses are magnificent. Minnesota has shown tendency to break in defense some. So is the Rams. The Rams are amongst the worst at defending the run. You feel me? And Minnesota's good all the way around, but I've seen teams run the ball on the Minnesota Vikings. I've seen teams have success through the air. And that's the team that gets behind. I don't believe in Case Keenum to come and right the ship in a playoff game. Now, it takes me to the other side. Other thing. I mean, it was Philly's year this year. It was no doubt in my mind that Philly, with home field advantage, beats all these teams, in my opinion. The team that probably most scared me to beat Philly would have been Cam Newton. For the simple fact, Cam Newton and the Panthers have an excellent front seven. Wentz probably would have diced up the back half. But what scared me about that was the simple fact that Carolina has some of the best misdirection and best just motion plays in the NFL. And I believe they could expose Philadelphia's back half as well. And I believe with Cam Newton, the threat of him running, it would have been an issue, for the Eagles. That's the one matchup for the Eagles that I didn't like was with Carolina. Because Carolina can match their physicality. Carolina can have some success running the ball on them. Cam Newton is a run-man army. Let's keep it real. I don't know. It would have been a real shootout. But Cam Newton is proven in the playoffs. And he's been to the promised land. He didn't win it. But he been to the promised land, and that's the one team I thought would have gave Philly issues. Just from a schematic matchup and how they game plan. But if the Panthers would run into an NFC opponent, they're used to seeing, what the Panthers come with the table with. A team that hasn't played and only has a week to game plan for the Panthers, it's tough to beat the Carolina Panthers. Speaking from the Philadelphia Eagles, but they're a non-factor at this point without their quarterback. Can Nick Foles right the ship? Two left feet with Nick Foles. I'm not believing it. At some point, it's going to come down to the quarterback, winning the game with his arm. And Nick Foles is a guy who has an NFL record or was an NFL record at the time or tied for one with 7 touchdowns thrown versus the Eagles back in 2013, 2014 season. He has some success, but I just don't trust the quarterback play of Minnesota, the Rams, and the Philadelphia Eagles at this point. Carolina and New Orleans and Atlanta, if they get in, they all have proven quarterbacks that have been to the Super Bowl, and I think that plays a part. New Orleans has a great defense this year, good defense at this point, and they have a Pro Bowl corner, Marshawn Lattimore, who's a rookie. And the loss they did have, I think he was out one of those losses they had, or maybe a couple, and he's very important. One of those losses they lost against the Rams, they was missing both of their rookie corners, or better for their starting corners, and Marshawn Lattimore was amongst one of those guys, and he's already a top 4 corner in the NFC, proving that he made the Pro Bowl his rookie year being a corner, which is one of the most hardest positions to transition to in the NFL, and that's dedication to his hard work, his technique, and God-given ability. And it's the reason why the Saints picked him and made the right pick correctly. They did, but for me, it comes down to Carolina, New Orleans. They don't need home field advantage, to be honest. To go somewhere and win. We know New Orleans got slaughtered by Minnesota opening night. But their team, their defense totally turned the corner. But what worries me about New Orleans is the simple fact that Drew Brees is not able to push the ball downfield anymore. The arm strength isn't there. The ball is fluttering. And if he has to go outside in the elements, that's going to be an issue. But it really doesn't have to be an issue because if Sean Payton continues to be true to himself this year and actually uses running backs like Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara for the first time in his career, and finds ways to get them the ball and they're able to run the ball and get a ball to them out the backfield. No linebacker safety in the NFL can cover Alvin Kamara out the backfield, and a lot of them can't cover Mark Ingram. They have the perfect blend. They have Mike Thomas coming down the middle of the field, playing the slot at 6'3", can play outside. Ted Ginn is the perfect guy on turf and in a dome to take the top off. They have the other receiver, Brandon Coleman, who's 6'3" as well. They have weapons. They don't have the ideal tight end weapons that can control the middle of the field, but they have other ways schematically to stretch you out, especially on the edge, especially with Texas routes, with the running backs coming out the backfield. Going into next season, they do need to, look at a quarterback of the future and look at a tight end of the future as well, and maybe a running mate to go Michael Thomas. Even though Ted Ginn has been stepping up, but when you go outside, Ted Ginn is a non-factor for the most part. At least that's the book on him. Possible wild cards that can get in. Atlanta is a team that's scary, but Matt Ryan is just playing, crazy and erratic. They're not using Julio like they should. All the weapons he got, he's being exposed this year for a lame duck quarterback and a guy that caught a flash in the pan last year. 3 interceptions in a few games this year. He ain't looking like himself, and a lot of people blame it on Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Shanahan not being there. But for me, it is what it is, man. The defense is still solid, but they barely beat Tampa Bay. They barely squeezing by these teams. They should have lost to Detroit with a BS call, but it is what it is. If they get in, they are still a dangerous team. Dallas is another team that could squeeze in there. I'm not worried about Dallas. The defense sucks, and people say, well, the defense has been top. At the end of the day, I don't care. They ain't played nobody. Anytime Phillip Rivers come in on Thanksgiving and hang up there and they're 50 on you, you can keep it moving with me. And you struggle with the Raiders, who just got popped by the Kansas City Chiefs and was zipped for 4 quarters of that game, in my opinion. I don't see you being a real player with or without Zeke. With those pass catchers, they can't get no separation or anything of significance. They're not a non-factor. If Detroit can get in, they can't run the ball. And I'm a Detroit Lions fan, but Stafford is a guy who can pull you out the grave, and the defense is playing better. But Detroit's downfall for many years has been putting everything on the arm of Matthew Stafford, and now his legs will be becoming more mobile instead of just going out there getting a running back and spending the money on it. I don't see them being too much of a factor either. Seattle's still in it. Too many injuries. You got Bobby Wagner and Earl Thomas beefing. Everything is, going down the drain for Seattle, and a lot of people are jealous because Russell Wilson is trilled and is keeping it real. He's overshadowed the defense and carrying the team now. And they was mad about the Super Bowl, and they never got over that with him throwing an interception and not handing it to Marshawn Lynch. If I had to pick a favorite, man, right now, it'd be tough. I like the 2 NFC teams, the 2 NFC South teams. I like New Orleans. Only thing that scares me from New Orleans is Drew Brees' ability to get the ball downfield and inclement weather and just in general. And I like Carolina, to be honest, man. I like the 2 proven quarterbacks. I'm not going with the lame duck quarterbacks with the good defenses. Their defense is going to have to be great in Minnesota and Rams. Just get them over the top. I love Todd Gurley as well. I'm going to take the proven quarterbacks in New Orleans or Cam Newton to make the run and make the Super Bowl. But a lot can change. We'll do another one right before the playoffs when the format is set. We gone.